Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany. Today bringing you another interview, but this time from the Austrian startup scene. Servus, Daniel.
Servus. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
The pleasure is all mine. We have been chatting a little bit before, and you are currently the co-founder of Phonio?
Yeah, co-founder and CEO of Fonio. Yeah.
Exactly. But Phonio is a little bit early stage for our normal coverage, but you have done some stuff in the past. So I thought, you would be still a pretty interesting guest. So welcome to Startup Radio. Today we explore Fonio.ai together with Daniel Keinrath. I assume in English you would say Keinrath.
Yeah.
Something like this.
Usually.
The founder who's been shaping business since age of 16. In just 60 seconds, what sparked the idea for Phonio and what problem are you most passionate about solving?
Okay, so like in general, the problem we're tackling is that SMEs, especially in Germany, where SMEs are the backbone of the economy, have a very hard time finding people who cover phone calls, especially repetitive phone calls. So our customers lose up to 70% of their phone calls. So it's a huge support for them to have an AI pick up their phone calls, help schedule appointments, do first level support, etc. And like I could tell you this very passionate story about why we started this company. Cause like, for example, I've been in love with phone calls since I was little, but to be honest, I just love building. And it was very obvious that this is a huge opportunity and a space where a company needs to step in Germany and build the best German AI phone assistant. So this is what we're doing now.
I was also talking to Central, another startup from south of Germany, and the SME market in Germany, it's massive. There are almost 3.5 million SME companies. And I have to admit, even for companies like me, it is easier to have somebody picking up the phone. That's why in the future I'll use Phonio when I get the time to set it up. Yeah. I was wondering for our audience, what do you guys think is the most exciting problem Phonio.ai is solving? Let us know down in the comments. I've been talking about your founder's journey, or I've been hinting about it. Take us back to your early entrepreneurial days. You've been building businesses since 16, and your first venture was an event agency at 18. What was like the aha moment that led you to Fonio.ai?
Okay, so to go back a little, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was building tar pit ideas from the age 16 onwards. I haven't spent a summer properly since age 16, but I love it. That's my passion. But when I turned 18, I stopped like playing around with different software ideas because none of them really took off. And I was like, okay, hey Daniel, what are you actually good at? And back then, that was, to be quite frank, partying and playing computer games.
What was your favorite computer game?
League of Legends. We were actually like the second best League of Legends team in Austria. So we were quite competitive.
Okay, I see.
But I decided to host a few parties myself, which then after a few struggles in the start, then actually evolved into a proper event agency. That event agency still exists today, and was the foundation of basically my entrepreneurial journey. After a few years, I then decided to want to build something more scalable. And that set the tone for the founding of GetNano, which we first started out as a platform where we connected everyday people with brands they love. So for example, you would get a bunch of free products for brands you like, and then you create stories on Instagram. And we thought we were geniuses because we were the first ones to do so. But sometimes there's a reason why you're the first one, because nobody needs it.
Happens, yeah.
Yeah, that happens. But for some reason, like even though we made a lot of mistakes and nobody really wanted our product, we actually grew to 10 employees, but then we hit a ceiling, and then we decided to pivot into user-generated content. And we then became one of the larger platforms where we basically connected a lot of creators that created user-generated content ads with companies who needed those ads because they were having spending a lot of ad spend on, for example, Facebook and Instagram. So they needed to circle through a lot of creatives. And we took a cut when we connected them. And we sold this company last year. And then I just started right away with Phonio. After a few months meantime of exploration. And you ask what actually led me to building Phonio. And that was actually a learning that I had during the time at GetNano. And I saw a huge opportunity in the US, where a company was starting to shape this field of user-generated content. But it took me I always thought that this is amazing what they're doing, and it is so close to like our entire topic, the micro-influencer stuff or nano-influencer stuff that we were doing. But I didn't pull the trigger on actually like also going into the UGC space. And I hated myself that I waited so long, because there was another company who was like, okay, fuck this. We're just copying what the US guys are doing and building trying to build a better product in Europe. And that actually also set the tone for why we started Phonio. There are a couple of great companies in the US building AI phone agents. So as soon as I saw that they are building the first scrappy products and going through YC, I was like, okay, this is such a no-brainer. We need to do this in Germany. Let's start it. And it's a very honest and very unsexy story. But this was my learning, and it was the best decision ever, because we're currently growing like crazy.
I have questions. You were talking about gaming parties. Was it still LAN parties where you connected like all the computers and everybody was in a room and something like that? Because that was something I did back in the 1990s, and we had those red, I don't know the name of in English, Coaxialkabel you need to screw in and stuff like that. And I set a new record in those parties. I think within 10 minutes, I died 53 times in those ego shooters. They're just not my type of game.
I also attended these kind of parties. But when we hosted parties, that was more like concerts and at nightclubs. So it wasn't like gaming parties, but more on the nightlife part. Yeah.
Okay. You've experienced a lot of growth and challenges in your entrepreneurial journey, from GetNano and its pivot to user-generated content to launching Phonio. What was the biggest challenge you faced early on in your career, and what are key lessons you did learn from this?
Oh, there were a lot. Give me a second. Okay, I think starting with the events told me a lot about people. For example, when you're 18 years old and you get scammed by the mafia, that really teaches you a lot. Probably my biggest challenge so far was a co-founder clash at GetNano, which we maneuvered nicely. But that was a very tough time of my life, which gives me now a lot of clarity how I also want to build Phonio. So that's my answer.
For the people out there listening, when you clash with your co-founder, what was your approach to solving this problem? Was it reconciling? Was it somebody getting bought out? Somebody leaving the company? What kind of solution do you start there, and how would you approach a similar situation?
Well, for us, it basically meant that we were on the same side, that it didn't make sense anymore to work together. We were 3 co-founders, one who joined later, which we then clashed. And we were on the same side that he should leave and wants to leave the company. But we weren't on the same side on the terms. And there's no general solution for that. Very much depends on the situation. And in this case, we just had a very hard time to agree on the deal. Because for us, we're currently also a little bit of a growth phase where we actually try to seek for an investment. But investors don't give you money if you have a screwed up a cap table. So that was a huge blocker for me, because it's so tough if you live your crazy startup lifestyle and you need that next round. But there's this very basic yet so large thing that is a huge blocker.
I think we already know the answer, but I prepped the questions anyway. Looking back with everything you built, Phonio, GetNano, and your agency, what did you wish you had done differently in your first year of business?
So my first year of business, I actually think I did quite well for an 18-year-old starting out. I'd say probably my largest fuck-ups were when I was starting GetNano. Because we were so convinced that our idea is gold, we didn't tell anyone. We made everyone sign NDAs. We didn't talk to a lot of customers. And that was probably the biggest mistake. We thought we were so convinced by the idea that we didn't challenge it and we didn't build for customers. Because when you create a company, all you need to do is you need to create value with your product. For example, now we create value because you don't need to hire 10 employees anymore to cover your repetitive phone calls, or lose all your phone calls because you don't have the people to do so. And that's pure value. And this is what we're focusing on. With GetNano, we didn't take a look at that. We just built the product, talked to no one. And it was actually a miracle that we had any customers at all.
I see. So the lesson is talk to your customers, which, thinking about it now, is kind of obvious, but there was a time in investing in venture capital not too long ago where this was actually encouraged first to discover, build out your vision, and then you could start earning money. I actually do believe those days are far, far behind us.
That's true. And it's good that they are.
Yeah, it's basically a convenient way to justify to burn money, right?
Yeah. Also, you're basically lying to yourself all the time, because you think you're doing something that creates value, but you're not. You just need to talk to your customers and basically build features that they want. And this is what we're doing at Phonio, for example, now. We have now close to 350 customers. And we're probably getting 30 feature requests per month. And we're just doing it very strategically. We just look at how many people want X, how many people want Y, and then we build it. So it's very, very close with the customer. And this is why we're growing so fast at the moment, because we build for the customer.
Let us talk a little bit about Phonio. So my understanding is it is a tool, an AI assistant that picks up the phone, takes messages, and also helps you to sort those messages as the party who received them. Is that about true? Is that about right?
Yeah. I'd frame it a little different. It's basically an AI that you can tweak yourself. You can set the voice, the information that the AI should have, the way it should conduct the conversation. And then you also get a phone number from us. And under this phone number, the AI always picks up 24/7 and can conduct as many calls as possible at the same time. So basically what our customers usually do is they just use call forwarding. If they get like a call and then they forward it to the AI number, the AI picks up, conducts the conversation. And then the cool part is that the AI also is able to actually do actions. For example, to place an appointment, to do API requests during the call. For example, it can tell you the status of your order, or it can also forward calls, and then you get and the AI also transcribes all the calls. Most customers want this transcript by email, but they can also get it in different ways. And the AI is also able to send SMS and other stuff. Yeah.
Again, I do have questions. Up front, I know, really stupid one, but you said you can set the language. Could you also set accents, for example, a German with a Bavarian or Swabian accent? Would that be possible?
Yeah, it's already possible.
I already like that idea. And secondly, me assuming being a customer of Phonio and having my Phonio assistant picking up like all the calls that I get. Yeah. Question for me is, how do I get the information that there's something going on? Do I get an email? Do I get a message? How does it tell me there's something out there?
You can choose how you want to get the message. So you get all the transcripts are in the platform, but you can also create an email automation that you always get an email. You can also choose under what circumstances you get an email. For example, only under the top when the conversation is about the topic X. So you can choose. There are multiple ways.
And now my question, would it be, or is it possible with Phonio to really have somebody replying in English and say, choose your language, and you have like 50 languages you can choose from?
Yeah. Currently, we're only available in German and English, but we'll roll out to all relevant European languages by the end of the year.
That's pretty good. And then I'm, of course, interested in understanding accents, because we are now speaking English. There is a sketch from the BBC with two Scottish guys in an elevator where the elevator doesn't understand them, where they want to go or open the door. So how good are you guys in really understanding somebody who does have an accent, for example, like me, who is not an English native speaker?
Oh, very good. So, for example, there would be no problems at all. There are parts in Austria and Germany where people have very, very heavy accents. So you would actually, like, even if you're a German native speaker, you have a hard time understanding what these people are saying. This sometimes can be tricky. But at the end of the day, an AI is very mathematical. So it basically tries to understand the most reasonable contexts of the vocals your voice is generating. So it gets tricky when what you're trying to say car, but it sounds like tree. Then it gets tricky. But as soon as it could be a car, especially like with the following words behind it, then the AI understands it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. Can you walk us through how Phonio works and what makes it uniquely positioned for addressing a problem compared to other AI assistants?
Yeah. So I told you the founding story of how we started the company. The beauty is that we now actually address also internationally a very new audience, which is SMEs. The entire AI phone assistant market is very, very new. And we're the first ones to build actually, I need to say this as a founder, but the perfect product for SMEs. So most AI phone agent companies, for example, great companies are like in the US or Vapi and Retail, for example, they create for developers first, which allows you more settings, but also is way harder to actually integrate into your workflows. For us, our current product is so easy that our customers only need like anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes to set up a fully functional AI. And that's a huge difference.
With Phonio AI growing at 80% monthly, how large is actually the market opportunity? Can you define like your total addressable market and your specific audience? Because what I had in mind when I heard first phone assistant, what instantly came to my mind is doctor's offices here in Germany, because either nobody picks up or the line is busy.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of doctors' offices, but also various other companies who are customers. So market size. I'm in the lucky position that I don't need to look after market size right now. We are currently not fundraising because my co-founder and I are basically pulling our own funds because we believe in the idea so much that we're our own investors. So we didn't create a pitch deck yet. I looked up like numbers once. So the market for contact centers in Europe is currently around 2 billion and is estimated to grow to 8 billion until 2032. But, and there's a huge but, we're not going after the market of contact centers. We're going after a market where there are no numbers. Because basically, we address a market that includes just employees at companies who do phone calls. So basically, you would need to look at the time these employees spent during phone calls and calculate it with their hourly wage. And this market is way beyond 2 billion. Yeah.
When you're talking about contact centers, is it also possible to have like Phonio on 20 lines and then 2-3 human operators and the AI hands over when it gets too complicated?
Yeah. We actually do have contact centers using Phonio already. Basically doing exactly what you said.
Given the rapid growth of AI-driven technologies, what trends in the industry validate the need for Fonio AI, and how do you see these trends evolving?
I'd say it's probably not an industry trend that actually works towards our favor. It's more like a general trend in Europe where companies have a very hard time finding people who are willing to do this very simple and repetitive tasks, because it isn't a super fun job to pick up the phone all day long and do like the set appointments. And that lack on the labor market, that is actually a huge opportunity for us right now. And I think it's also a huge opportunity. Now I'm getting a little political, but for Europe in general, with the decline in the birth rates, that we need more automation to be like actually able to compete internationally, with labor costs in Asia being way lower and the entire laws in the US being way lighter when it comes to labor. So I think that that's a huge opportunity. And of course, in general, the acceptance for AI is just rising every day.
We will be back with you on the business model and revenue strategy after the little ad break. Hey guys, welcome back to our interview with Daniel from Phonio.ai. He is the CEO and co-founder and a serial entrepreneur. We've been talking already about a lot of stuff, but let's talk a little bit about the business model and your revenue strategy. What's the engine that drives Phonio's revenue? How does your business model support this long-term growth, especially since the AI field is currently pretty competitive?
Very good question. So we're currently in a lucky position that we're actually the only software company in Germany who builds a product just dedicated to AI phone assistants in German. So again, I need to say this as a founder, but there's currently no startup in the market that comes close to us when it comes to German AI phone assistants. And so what we're doing right now is we are investing heavily into branding already. So my goal within the next 2 months already is for all competitors to follow us, because there will be a lot of companies that will follow us. They all need to get the comment when they talk to PR people, etc., to customers. Oh, so you're doing the same thing as Phonio. So that's our goal already when it comes to branding. We're quite far on that side for a young startup. And then in general, we're also investing very heavy into product, because at the end of the day, the best product wins. So right now, these are very much basics. For example, we're now the first company in the world that is able to sustainable understand email addresses in German. Sounds very unspectacular, but it's amazing. This will only give us like a little advantage over the next few months, but we need to keep pushing on our advantage right now and just try to accelerate our growth. Yeah.
I vividly remember like 2-3 years ago, when we had our speech recognition still with a different provider, that, for example, made our Startuprad.io, made ballroomdancing.com. So I feel where you're coming from. Let's talk a little bit about traction. You're reaching 300 customers and aiming for 5,000 at the end of the year. You're doing this with your own bootstrapped funding. You are reaching a lot of milestones. And usually when you get into this growth area, you talk about funding, you talk about VC, and you usually get a soccer table, pool table, something like this for the office. I was wondering, what kind of milestones do you celebrate with the team, and how?
We didn't celebrate a milestone yet. I think we celebrated when we realized that. So when we launched in September 2024, and we celebrated when we realized, because we were first planning to just do like a beta and work with the sign partners and give away the product for free. We realized, okay, wow, even though this is a very scrappy MVP, people are loving it. They want to pay for it. We don't need to do a classic beta or design partner phase. That was a moment of celebration, because we knew, holy shit, we're onto something. But right now we're just laser focused on building the best product and creating the best brand. And we're not looking back. And because we know that there will be so many companies in this market, and we just know that we can't or of course we could celebrate. For us right now, we're just dead focused on getting faster and faster every day. And there's no soccer table.
Okay. What do you think of you and your team? What has been your most significant achievement so far? We know that the people loved it. Okay. That's one check. But then there is, like, you feel you took another step. What would it be?
I'd say honestly, for me personally, when content creators started talking about it, when we had customers, again, I need to repeat this, when we had customers that ask us if they could create events with their customers where they would talk about Fonio.ai, then I was like, that was a moment where I was celebrating. I was like, okay, wow, this is crazy. This is surreal. Yeah.
Sounds like next generation Tupperware somehow.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's my life goal.
I was talking a little bit about your go-to-market strategy here. Because it's awesome that your clients love what you do and that you scale pretty well. But how do you, because you have a few thousand clients at the end of the year, but only in Germany. We established it's almost 3.5 million entities there. How do you plan to acquire customers at scale? And what is your strategy there?
Okay, the good thing is that at my previous company, we already had 2,500 B2B customers. That's not like a lot, but it's still quite a lot. And I had to spend a lot of time with scaling topics. So right now we're following different approaches. We do have, I'll start with the classical outreach part. Okay. When it comes to sales, we do, or we could do, because we're currently not doing it, because all our sales pipelines are completely full. So we're not doing active sales. It's only inbound, but we're ready to do it as soon as we hire more salespeople. Automated LinkedIn messages. We buy the data from tools like clay.com to target our perfect target audience and then send out automated LinkedIn messages. One part. We do have over 100 email inboxes warmed up and ready to send out 50,000 emails a month without getting blacklisted. So there's also an engine that is ready as soon as we press the button. Then something I'm really excited about is that we can use our own AI to do cold calling. And we basically have no limits on that one. We could call entire Germany within 2 weeks.
I'm afraid somebody will complain there.
Somebody will complain, that for sure. And it's only allowed in the B2B sector with the EU AI Act that already got banned for private people. So this is also something. This is the outreach part. This is ready, but we're not touching it because our pipelines are full. Then we have the performance marketing part. I do have a lot of experience when it comes to performance marketing. We just built funnels where people can sign up by themselves on our website. This works very well at the moment. And then we also work with creators, so mainly YouTubers creating content about Phonio. This is great also for self-signups, but also for validation. If someone isn't sure how the product works, if we're legit, etc. And then another huge driver is word of mouth. This is actually insane at the moment. And partners. So we do have a huge amount of partners at the moment. Actually, the amount of partners is so huge that it's in a weird proportion to our customers. We have over 80 partner agencies already who want to sell Phonio. And this also starts to compound. So like we're getting first sales from agencies we onboarded in November, but the main part of these agencies we onboarded over the past 2 months. So I also expect a huge amount of growth in that field. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. We will be back after a short ad break. Thank you for sticking with us. We're still interviewing serial entrepreneur Daniel, co-founder and CEO of Fonio.ai. And now we're getting a little bit into team and leadership. Tell us about your team at Phonio and what key roles have you built so far and what makes your team uniquely suited to execute your vision.
So when it comes to our team, we're currently 8 people. And I need to talk about my co-founder because I think my co-founder is the true star of the show. His name is Matthew Gruber. And Matthew, you got to know about Matthew. He lives on the more rural side of Austria, still at his mom's place in his children's room. He is almost 30 now, but he's probably the best developer in Austria, or probably even in Europe or amongst the top 10 for sure. Matthew also started building his first companies when he was 16 years old. He then also was a long-time CPO at a scale-up, where he led over 100 people. He got named the second best developer in Europe. And he truly accelerates our growth. Like he alone is faster than 10 developers at my past company. So that's insane. He's the true star of the show.
Apparently he is.
Yeah.
We all know that culture eats strategy for breakfast, but what are some of the core values that you try establish in Phonio's company culture?
Yeah. So our culture is very transparent. So the way we communicate is we have a lot of respect for each other. So also psychological safety. We try to be nice and have fun, but we're also very direct. So we create a culture where we will give you always direct feedback. And this direct feedback could seem harsh if you don't have the emotional safety for it, but we also create that. And that makes us really fast. And then we don't do a lot of meetings. We only do meetings when they're actually necessary. We try to work a lot of async. And if we do meetings, we prepare them. And then we also very much are focused on how we actually create value. And I think this is something where a lot of startups get lost in the process. You have so many opportunities that you can pursue, but you actually always need to be focused on how do we actually create value. I actually wrote a LinkedIn post about that today. Until today, we don't have I forgot my password button. I need to reset password. Because we will only build this button when the amount of manual requests for a password reset is so large that it actually makes more sense to build this feature. And of course, this is just a minor thing. But if you translate that to every single decision in your product journey, you just get so insanely fast because he only builds stuff that actually creates value. Yeah.
That is an interesting idea. Even though I'm not too sure how I would personally react when I lose a password and have to like manually reset it. But I'll definitely, even though your post is in German, I'll definitely share it here in the show notes. Let us go a little bit into the outlook. I know you're still bootstrapped, but imagine you would raise funds today.
Yeah.
How would you allocate them to accelerate Phonio's growth? And what are your most pressing priorities there?
Okay, so we currently have a huge amount of investor inbound from tier 1 VCs from the Valley to friends that are angels. I think when we would pull the trigger, we'd be able to get around within 1 week a significant. Because there's around probably like 50 different VCs or angels waiting for us to say, okay, we're ready. But the reason why we're not doing is because we don't need the money right now. So what we're doing is, since we're growing so fast and Matthew and I also are putting in money to the company, we're actually trying to create a burn. So we're hiring aggressively, but we also only want top talent. And like, you can give me 20 million euros today, but I'll still need my time to hire top talent. Of course, it gets a little easier when you get more PR coverage, etc. But I think it's so crucial, especially with the first hires you make that shape the culture at the company, that you take your time. And you can't really, there's no shortcut to this, no amount of money. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to hire aggressively. We're trying to create a burn, but we are not able to create a burn at the moment. So our goal is we will create a burn if it's possible. And then Matthew and I will still cover the loss we're doing for like 1, 2, 3, 4 months. And basically give the company more debt, or a loan. Sorry, give the company a loan. And then we basically raise later onwards and also use a part of that money to cover the loan. Because that way we maximize on speed, but also equity ownership and the valuation of the company.
Let us talk a little bit about the future vision and potential exit strategy. We just been talking about a lot about Phonio because it's a very young company. But where would you see it in like 5 years? Imagining also how the AI assistant market would evolve.
Okay, I think like in the AI space in general, distribution will be everything. You can see, like we can see it with our dev team. Like we just get faster and faster by the day because they're also working with more AI tools. So in general, I think that it will get quite easy to build products. I think companies need to focus on stickiness, on how to actually keep their customers. This is something we're also very focused on. And also, I think the one who owns the distribution will win, because it's actually like customers of ours are already requesting features like, hey, could you also have a chatbot or email or WhatsApp, etc. And if we own the distribution, it's then very easy for us to build like more and more products towards it. And we don't have a clear exit strategy. So we're building Phonio as a sustainable company. There could be also a scenario where we are the ones who acquire different companies. And we will just do the thing that is most rational. If it's most rational that we raise a lot of VC money, because otherwise our odds aren't high that we will survive in the market, we'll do it. My preferred route is to keep as much ownership in the company as possible, because right now we don't need the money. But if I see, okay, there's so much competition and we will only survive if we need to do it, we'll do it. If someone approaches us and gives us an unreasonable amount of money, we'll probably also say yes. So this is, we just want to build a sustainable and rational company.
Mm-hmm. Let's shift a little bit to the last few questions of our interview, because I'm interviewing you right now for almost 45 minutes, which will be cut a little bit, but nonetheless, it's pretty tough interview. Thank you very much for staying here with me. Lessons for future entrepreneurs. What one piece of advice you wish you had received before starting your entrepreneurial journey?
I already talked about this multiple times in this podcast. I'd say focus, really obsess about how you create value. This is everything. Like really focus on how does my customer save money with this? How does my customer save time with this? How to actually increase the quality of life for my customer. This is everything you need to focus about. I did a lot of mistakes where like every young entrepreneur that starts out usually starts out by designing a logo and finding a name. We spent 20 minutes on the name Phonio. We were lucky because it's a nice name. I do like it. But for us, it was clear that the name is completely irrelevant for our growth. There are so many companies out there with a shitty name and are billion-dollar companies. So we just really focus on how you create value.
And I totally assume that would be something you wish you had learned starting with the other companies before.
Yeah, 100%.
I see. Last question here. Where could people and potentially investors connect with you and learn more about Phonio? And I assume pretty soon you'll also need to hire a lot of people. Where could they learn more?
Either on our website or find me on LinkedIn. It's just my name on LinkedIn. I'll always be happy to chat.
Everybody who's listening to this or watching this, go down here in the show notes. There's a link to our main blog post, and there you'll of course find a link to your LinkedIn profile. Our audience, what's one question you would ask Daniel? Comment below and we'll forward it to him. Daniel, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I do believe it was a very good interview. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. A lot of fun. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.Startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.